So.
Well, that was very courageous. So how's that going? Now that Dad understands the full picture.
Well, I'm still in the house.
I didn't doubt that that would be the case. Okay. So where do we go from here? In terms of Laura.
Well, my dad and I were just talking, and I was just thinking, like, what if, Laura and I aren't maybe the most mature people, but what if her parents are like that too? What if they go after her? Like, what if they start yelling at each other?
You know what? That's a really good question. And it's interesting you should ask that, because that's one of the things Laura's concerned about. She's concerned that your dad's going to be mad at her mom, right? Okay. So that's our job, to talk to your parents a little bit more. And my sense is where your parents are at is they're both kind of worried about that, but they're not going to be doing that to one another.
Okay. At school, we use this MEND thing, and the rules are to respect each other and not to yell or cast blame at each other. Is that what we're going to use for the circle?
Exactly.
Okay.
That's exactly it. Okay. So we will talk about up front what some of the rules are. We'll ask people to be open and honest with one another, and like you said, to be respectful. And then we'll need to talk through, Laura's going to have to talk about what happened. And part of that will be, she'll be talking about some of the things that happened between the two of you. So I'm going to encourage you to talk about those things openly with her too.
Of course.
That's not going to be easy though.
I know.
You're okay with that?
I have to be. There's no other way. I have to get this done. I have to resolve it. Otherwise it's just going to be worse. I won't go back to school.
Okay. So this is part of you feeling comfortable to go back to school, getting it sorted out.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. What do you need to have happen when we do this?
We'll just make sure that she doesn't do it again, but I want to make sure that she knows that she reasons that she won't ever do that again and won't even try to do it without not telling.
Okay. So you want some sort of assurance from her that she's not going to threaten you again?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you able to give her anything?
Well, I was pretty mean to her, and I guess the most I can give to her is just that if I have nothing else to say, I won't say it. If I have nothing good to do, then I won't do it.
Okay.
I want her to know that.
Okay. And what do you think about how some of the things you've said and done with her and some of the games you played with her, what do you think about how that's affected her?
Well, we have no trust whatsoever, I don't think.
That's probably a really good point. Really good point.
Yeah, no trust at all.
So, any ideas about what you might be able to do about developing a bit of trust?
Well, I guess the first thing I could do is leave the option open to any reason that she wants and any reason that I want, how we could fix this, and then if we both come to an agreement, then I think we're as good as gold.
Okay. What would that agreement look like for you? What would go into it?
Well,
you said that she
smarten up and not give death threats and not to annoy each other and not bully each other, and if we have to, then just stay away from each other.
Okay. You know what I think might help too, Robbie, and I'd like to encourage you to do, and I know Shawn has been encouraging Laura to do the same, is to kind of talk a little bit about what's going on in your life outside this.
Well, I struggle with ADD, and it feels like she took advantage of that without even knowing it, maybe. But if even maybe I could share that with her, then maybe she could respect that.
You know, that would be very courageous, and I think it would be very helpful. And that's up to you. If you feel safe and comfortable to share that, then I'm thinking that would carry us a long way. Anything else?
I think I'm good. I think I'm ready to take this on.
Yeah, I think you are too. Do you have any other questions about the process, or?
Is my dad okay with it?
Your dad's okay with it. Okay. It's not going to be easy for anybody, and I can't tell you that it will be, but I know your dad's okay with it. He's a little worried, and maybe that's something you and Dad could talk about a little bit more before we get there.
Yeah.
Could you do that?
Yeah, thanks.
I think your dad would really like that too. He'd appreciate that.
Okay.
Okay, so deal.
Deal.
I really appreciate all you guys coming here today. I know this might feel a little bit awkward. Hopefully when we walk out of here today, that awkwardness will stay in the room and you guys walk out feeling a little bit better about this. Just quickly before we get in, some of you may not know me. I'm Shawn. I've been working with Laura in terms of making her feel comfortable and getting her ready to come to this meeting. I'll let you introduce yourself.
And I'm Judy, and I've been working with Robbie and his dad Greg, and really glad to have all of you here together. We know, Shawn and I are very well aware of how much work and effort you've all put into being here today, and we really, really appreciate that. So we were brought here today. Shawn and I are going to work from a script that we're going to just kind of use as a guide to make sure that we stay on track. So you'll see us referring to that. I also like to take some notes so that, I'm clear on what's happening and how things are going. What we'd like to do is spend some time talking about what happened at school. So about the story that you read in class, Laura, and the effect of that. And, in the context of that, some of the things that led up to that happened between the two of you too. So we're very positive that the two of you are really accepting responsibility for your part in what's happened, and we encourage you to speak to that today and be as open and honest as you can with one another. And we want to hear from your parents. I think that's going to be very important, and from Miss Kelly. Okay.
I know we've talked about this before, but just real quickly, just some of the ground rules that we need to have here today. Number one, we need to be respectful of each other. So we need to, in order to be able to speak, we also need to be able to listen to each other. If at any point you need to take a break, just say so, okay? And I think the other thing that's important to point out is that none of you have to be here today. And if you want to get up and leave, you can get up and leave at any time throughout this process. Probably the last thing, most importantly, is that it belongs to you guys. We encourage you that whatever you say stays in this room. Okay? It is confidential. There are moments where Judy and I may not be able to keep things confidential, and that is if you happen to be talking about wanting to harm yourself or harming somebody else or planning on breaking the law. We can't keep that stuff confidential. Is there any rules that you guys need? Well, I think where we'll start, Laura, is with you. And what I'd like you to do is just kind of take us through kind of the last days of what was going on and what happened and why we're all sitting around the table here, okay?
The last few days that led up to my letter was I fell asleep reading a book in the hallway, and Robbie got one of his friends to sneak up beside me and stick this sign up that said, 7 days, still smells, still, I can't remember what else it was, but it said same loser at the bottom. And they kind of crowded in around me, and I had to kind of break my way through it. And then I kind of got fed up and wrote the letter in saying what I felt.
Can you talk a bit more about what was in the letter?
I was saying how I wanted to kill Robbie by using a baseball bat while the teacher wasn't looking, and while Robbie wasn't aware of what was going on.
Can you talk about what were you thinking at the time you were both writing that and reading that?
I was feeling that writing that would get rid of all my anger, and showing everyone how I felt would make them believe that I'm not joking anymore, and it's not funny how they're treating me.
What do you think now?
That it was a big mistake, and that I really regret writing it, and I feel bad because of how Robbie feels and how Miss Kelly feels and Robbie's father.
Maybe you can talk a little bit more about how you think they are feeling.
Scared. Miss Kelly's probably feeling disappointed because she didn't know me, but as she saw for the first little while that I was a good student, and she's probably really disappointed in how I've acted, and Robbie's probably just shocked because of he didn't realize that how we were bullying each other got so out of hand, and Robbie's father's just probably scared for his safety, for his son's safety.
Can I ask you maybe in turn, starting with Robbie and then Dad, how accurate is that, what Laura has to say about how this has affected you?
I don't think there are any words you can put down to mark down how I'm feeling. I feel like an entire dictionary of scared and shocked and helpless and isolated and all these things all at once.
I would certainly agree. I felt a bit blindsided. I mean, when this all started first come out, I'll admit the first instinct is to defend your child.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
While I'm beginning to understand the process, even at this point, hearing the words that you just spoke, the first instinct still, kicks in a little bit. Mm-hmm. We haven't had a chance to talk about it a good deal over the last little while. So I have a sense of context, but it doesn't necessarily make this easy at this point.
What's been the hardest thing for you?
Helplessness, I guess. I mean, it was a lot different when we were kids. Well, I don't know if it was, but that's the way I seem to remember it. I don't remember threats. I don't remember that sort of violence and things that kids have to deal with now. And I'd really rather it wasn't my son that had to go through that. I don't know. I mean, your first instinct, as I said, is just to want to protect your son, your child, and I can't do that when they're surrounded by hundreds of other kids at school. You just sort of have to let them go and hope for the best, and the best doesn't always happen.
Okay. Robbie, can you talk a little bit about how you think some of the things between you and Laura affected one another?
I mean, it was irresponsible, everything that we did together. I mean, I'm not casting blame, I'm not judging you, but I think we can both agree that we both did really mean, harsh things that we should have never done. And
can you speak to that?
since the first day, it's just, there's no way I would ever want anyone that I know to do this again, let alone myself. I can't even believe that I did it now.
So what are you hearing Robbie say?
That he believes that we both were wrong no matter what, but he didn't really say this, but that's what I'm feeling, that he was thinking that I took it too far. But
What do you think?
I think I did take it too far, obviously. But I don't know.
I think I took it too far when I started it.
How does that feel for you to hear that, Laura?
Feels good because he's saying that he was not trying to make him sound like this, but he was the worst person for starting it, but I don't believe that because I wasn't the one to end it. So, but I do believe that he did start it because I was new here. This is my first year here, and I was just trying to fit in, and I didn't realize I was offending anyone. So.
Okay. So, and now we haven't heard from you. How about for you in terms of how this has affected you?
Well, it's been horrible. It's been horrible because, as I said, when Shawn was at the house and we spoke, and as you said, it's hard to believe that your child, it's not my daughter. Mm-hmm. That's not the daughter that I know. And I also feel very guilty about it all because I have not been able to be there for her the way she needed me to be. And I'm not excusing in any way what she did and how far she went. But I do take some responsibility in it. And she made a bad choice.
So what are you hearing there, Laura?
that my mother feels guilty for my actions, and now that's making me feel guilty for what I did, because I never wanted her to be a part of it. I just wanted everything to stop, and that was my first reaction, to figure out how people could stop. Like, that's the first thing that came to mind, because that blog just started out as something to vent myself out as and just to get rid of it, but then like it was just at that, and I felt good after I wrote it, and I wasn't planning on posting it or doing anything. But then once I fell asleep in front of the locker, and then I found the sign behind me and everyone cornering me, that pushed me over the edge to really say it. Because it went quiet, no one was bullying me or anything for a couple of days, so I thought had just blown over, but it hadn't, once I realized that they started up again. And so that led me to the point to actually reading it.
I think we could sit here all day and maybe all night going on about how guilty and how sorry we are for each other. Like, I don't even know you, and I'm really, really sorry. And I don't even know you, and I'm sorry. And I wish there was a way we could move on, because that's why we're here, so we can figure out how to fix this in general instead of just saying sorry all the time.
Okay. So maybe we could ask, what do people need to move on? Would that be helpful?
I think we really do need to hear from Ms. Kelly, just so that you guys can really get an understanding of how you've impacted folks. Ms. Kelly, what was this like for you?
It was really difficult, and it was really difficult as a person and as a teacher. As a teacher, I put a lot of effort into what I do. I take my job very seriously, and your achievement is very important to me, as is the achievement of everyone else in our class. And I thought we were doing something pretty neat with the whole blog thing, and there was a lot of trust. And that trust was really violated. And that was embarrassing for me, it was embarrassing for the class. And a lot of kids really lost their trust and their faith in our class. And when we spend as much time as we do on character education and building citizenship, and then to see it just all go out the window like that was very shocking. And I also put a lot of effort into just being in the hallway and being present in extracurriculars. So as a person, it's really exhausting to give and to try so hard, and to be faced with all the stuff that's happening in the hallways that I can't really control and I can't do anything about. It wears you out, wears me out, it wore me out. You know, there's one of me, and there's 25 of you. And it's hard. And it was really hard.
What do you hear in that, Laura, that maybe gives you a sense of what's needed to be done here?
Regain of trust, a huge apology. Like, words can't describe what everyone needs. Like, they need to feel safe and all that kind of stuff. And like, I don't know.
When you say everyone, who are you thinking?
My teacher, the principal, the kids in our school, parents, like, they're all probably not feeling very safe right now.
What could we do so that the class feels better and safer, and you guys feel like you have moved forward?
I have an idea.
Kelly has an idea.
I have an idea. The whole idea of this blog was to go somewhere and to talk about something that was important to you. And clearly making it right is important to you. So what if we go back and we revisit that blog, and you share some of your learning